in Spanish, say, hay que echarle ganitas. You have to actually work a little bit harder at it because it is different when people are remote, right? You can get the same kind of outcome, but you can't do the same activities you do as if they were in-house.
Mic check. I'm good.
Mic check. Mic check.
You can read about success all day long, but if you don't put in the work, the mindset, execution, and the hustle behind your vision, it just remains a dream.
When everything goes wrong, you have to take all the responsibility.
We uncover what high-level entrepreneurs, business owners do to rise up from hustling daily.
So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances.
The world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft.
Join me as I share with you actionable tips to help you grow your business, learn skills, and help you level up in your self-development journey.
Your number one spot for business and personal growth is the Online Hustlers Podcast with your host, Esteban Andrade.
Every day I'm hustling.
What up, guys? Today in the Online Hustlers Podcast, where we cover REI, marketing, and conversion, I have a special guest from Mexico. We're going to use the power of Latinos, one of the most hardworking races out there, all right? And I am Latino myself, so I'm really proud to have this person here and to showcase the really good things that he has done with his company, PowerISA. And he has been building out a call center remotely and building out with really true rock stars, people that are mostly located in Mexico and that they're getting properties to buy for realtors or to sell for realtors, but also helping in the REI side as well. And we're going to cover all the nuances that are required in order to be successful doing outbound marketing, which in this case is going to be doing cold calls, such a hard skill to actually master, but he's been able to master it. He has had hundreds of clients already, and he has had hundreds of people in his team already that are crushing it, and all remotely. Again, these are remote Latinos. So we're going to go through this. I've had people in the past that have like a local home base, a call center, but this is another story, because usually you would think like you cannot have a call center. You cannot have a call center if it is not like in-house, if it's not like in one office, if it's not like maintained and controlled, and people are going to be in one place. That might be just a myth, because ever since COVID started, things started changing for the good. So we have today Gustavo, my really good friend from our original gangsters real estate mastermind.
Yep, 100%.
We have Gustavo right here, man. I'm so glad to have you, man. How are you?
Doing good. Excited, man. Congratulations on your success, on the show and everything, but happy to be here.
Oh, man, that's awesome. And obviously here, I want to bring out guests that really are going to be able to provide a lot of value. I say that I'm one of those type of people that I like to give as much as I can without expecting anything in return, because I know that at some point in life, whether I am 60 years old, 35, 70, something is going to come back to me in a positive manner, whether that's very small or very large. Some things come faster, some things will take more time, but I know the positive energy that providing value to people brings. So every single person that comes in here was a hustler, started hustling, created really great systems, created great businesses, also collaborate, have the same set of core values. You also have a group, Facebook group, where you go live very often. And the things that you've provided in that Facebook group are truly amazing. Sometimes you cover different gaps that businesses have, pain points that businesses have within their cold calling portion of it, or just conversion side, anything related to marketing, because what we're talking here, either way, it's a form of marketing, outbound marketing, and also inbound marketing as a whole whenever you have inside sales agents. But I really want you to talk about like why people should really listen to you right now, because like people are going to be like, who's this Gustavo guy?
Who is this guy, right? Yeah,
who's this guy? But I'm telling you, like, he's a beast. He's built PowerISA. He's also Latino. And as you know, I'm prepping. I believe in you guys, you got this. So I really want you to tell everyone who really that Gustavo is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks, Esteban. Great intro. Gustavo Munoz, born and raised in Tijuana, Mexico, across the border from San Diego, California. People usually ask me, why do I speak, kind of like an American? I grew up watching American TV. Half of my family is in San Diego County, Orange County, LA County. So I was immersed in the culture from a really, really young age. Oh, and all my cousins would make fun of you if you spoke English with an accent. So that's like, boom, that's gone really, really quickly, right? So that's kind of where I'm from and where I grew up. I then went on to, study. So I'm a software engineer by training. I got recruited to go work for Microsoft in Seattle. So, we just off the bat, I know Esteban has like a tech background as well in the US and industry. So we had that in common. We started there, but guess what? I realized, and I was there for 10 years. I did not realize as soon as you did. Maybe you got some help getting kicked out. I didn't get that help. I had to kind of get there kind of on my own. That wasn't the job for me, right? I had other skills. I wish they would have laid me off earlier because that would have got me hustling faster, sooner, right? Because one of the things that they would always tell me in the job was, hey, you come off a little bit too salesy, right? You're a little bit too good of a salesman. People would, when I go into meetings, and because you're always negotiating and selling and engineering too. You're always doing that in corporate America. It's about selling yourself, your team, your projects. I was a middle manager there. So you're always selling. No matter what. That's a good skill to have regardless, right? But engineers don't trust salespeople. They have issues with that, right? They're like, oh, wait, hold on. Am I being hustled here? There's always something like that. So I would get that comment a lot. Gustavo, you're always looking to do networking. You're always doing this, doing that. And one day, my wife got into real estate. I met her in Mexico. She joined me. And I was like blown away by how that was appreciated in that industry. The connecting, being the social connector, being the guy that liked to make things happen and trying to think. That was like people embraced it in that space, as opposed to me kind of butting my head all the time in Microsoft, right? And I always could tell that I'm like, this is a great job. Don't get me wrong, it's a great company, great job, great high tech is amazing, it's great, right? If that's for you, if that's your thing. And I realized that wasn't early on. I kind of realized it wasn't my thing. I didn't do anything about it until 2010. I got licensed. So I was in the company already 6 years before I got licensed. And then 2013, I said, you know what? Life is too short, man. I had a really bad boss at Microsoft that helped me. That guy did help me. I'm grateful that he helped me. Like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to try something on my own. 6 months sabbatical. 6 months sabbatical. I'm going to help my wife with her team, build her real estate team, and then I'm back. I'm going to move to the next company. Great. It's been, almost 10 years since that, and haven't looked back since. I'm like, it seems to be working out so far. So, here I am. And I started running a real estate team out of Seattle, marketing to who else? Like my sphere, like other Latinos professionals. That was my niche. Those are the people that I work with, the people that knew me the best, right? So I sold homes to Latino engineers at Boeing, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Google. That was my niche. Pretty good niche to have in real estate, guys. Not bad. So that's how I did it. And I sold 100 homes within my first 3 years, which for me, that sounds really impressive, right? For most people. For me, it was disappointing because I wanted to sell 300 homes, right? I wanted to sell 500. Like, what's holding you back? What's going on? And I had another competing goal. I wanted to eventually move back to Mexico, right? That's where I'm from. That's where my family's from. So man, that was in the back of my mind. My wife wanted to do it. I didn't know how to do it. In software, you couldn't work remotely back then. That wasn't a thing back in 2012, 2013. That wasn't an option, right? And real estate, forget about it. Real estate is a contact sport. It's a body-to-body sport. I couldn't do it. But I discovered the inside sales agent model. I went to a conference. That was all the rage. I took the course. I read the book. I did everything you could do. And I started hiring in my team. And one of the guys that I trained, because I had done prospecting and calling on a certain level. I wasn't a master at it. But what I realized was that I was really good at teaching it to other people. That's like, I was a much better teacher than I was even doing it on my own. So one guy that I taught how to do it, this is old expireds, calling old expireds in Seattle back in 2013, 2014, this is a while ago. And he set 22 listing appointments in 1 month. 22 listing appointments, okay? So I'm like, okay, this is interesting now. This is something, because I had never been able to do that on my own. But I found a more talented person than me. I gave them the tools, the training, the scripts, and the supervision. And they went off and did that, again, their second month. I was like, this is amazing. And the next thing that occurred to me, you mentioned the Latino hustle. I said, hey, because that was great that happened to that person. The next thing they want to do is get licensed and go on their own. It was difficult for me to retain. It was hard to get good people in the seat. It was even harder to get good people to stay in that position. It was a high rotation position. It's just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
I said, I bet I can build a team back home in Mexico. And I bet it's going to be an amazing opportunity for them, right? And I bet they're going to hustle as much or more than folks that are here in Seattle. And I went ahead and did that. And as soon as I put that out there in the universe, this is crazy. I had 4 people sign up for me and say, here's $10,000. Can you please get one for me too? Are you going to go down there? You're already going to set up an office anyway, Gus. So just go in there and get another person for me. Here you go. And one of the guys was like aggressively calling me, hey, Gus, you're not taking my calls. Here's my money. Take my money. Take it out. And I was like, whoa, bro. In real estate, we're not used to people calling us. We have to chase them. We have to like hustle and follow up and call and remind them and the appointment that they don't attend. And I was like, it was the first time people were looking for me and like aggressively trying to give me their money, right? So I said, okay, there's an urgent need for this. I get it. I tapped into something that was like extraordinary. And that's how we started. 4 people plus 5 people plus me in a conference room in Tijuana, Mexico, with laptops and voice over IP. And we started, right? I think we used Mojo back then. Mojo Dialer was our #1 dialer and list. And we went to town. And that's how it started. And now I have over 100 people working remotely, not just in Tijuana, all over Mexico, right? All over Mexico. I'm the only like US employee, if you count it that way. Everyone else is Mexico-based and living and working in Mexico. And we've serviced over 1,200 clients since 2015 to now. And we have over 100 people on the team. And I've probably hired hundreds of people at this point, if not, maybe even more than 1,000 at this point. But I've gone through to get 100 good people that are good at this job. I mean, you know how it is. You got to go through a few bad apples to get the great people. So I felt I've gone through that. I've paid that tax, and here I am. So yeah, it's a very short summary, but that's why I think, and I've probably done it all in the real estate space: wholesaling, retail sales, multifamily, single family, condos, probates, circle prospect, expired, FISBO, all the inbound leads known to man. Google, Facebook, Zillow, Realtor.com, HomeLight, Zillow Flex, everything. We've done everything, right, at this point. So I feel I have a pretty good grasp of the industry and the different kinds of lead sources and what people need out of this role, right? I'm not going to say I'm an expert at closing deals, at going to the closing table. That's not my role. My role is how do I take a cold list or a prospect list? How do I turn that into a qualified opportunity for my client? That's the thing that I'm really, really good at. Probably one of the best guys in the US at doing, because I focus on the US and Canada, US and Canadian market. Canada is like a big state in the US, guys. No offense, Canadians. It's like a smaller California. That's what Canada, I mean, no offense. That's what it looks like. Because, Texas, California, it's a little bit different. Don't get offended by that, but it's comparable to another state in the US in size. But we service that whole area.
All right, let's break down exactly what Gus just said, because like he's spitting so much fire right now. And like look at this. Like we have a logo of a thunder, and that means energy. It could mean hustle. It could mean just like everything that you inflict to other people. And Gustavo is the leader and CEO of this organization. And you might just like wonder, hey, what type of energy do you inflict to your people? And what kind of conviction do you also inflict to your people that you're hiring? All right, every single time that you're hiring, or the leaders that hire the other people. And it's exactly what you just saw with Gustavo. And one of the things that he mentioned is that, hey, whenever he was growing up, he would follow everything US, American, any type of North American type of whether that's movies, whether that's like culture and things like that.
We didn't have the internet in the 80s, right? So it was all magazines. You used to read magazines in English, books, CDs. They came out later, music, the radio, and TV. I could get the US TV for free because I just got to put little rabbit ears out there and you get it in Tijuana.
And that's a really important thing because at the time that you're hiring someone to do your cold calling, all right, or whether that's, look, Gustavo has an ISA team, but inside sales agent can also be translated to a follow-up specialist. It can also be translated to a so-called lead manager, depending on how your organization actually works. But a person that is going to be speaking the same type of culture and the same type of language is absolutely necessary when talking with homeowners, all right? Especially when talking with homeowners that potentially have some sort of pain, they want to sell for X or Y reason. And the Latino culture allows just that because the Latino is so close to the US and Canada market because we grow up with these things, right? Like Gustavo is shown, like we grow up with America, we grow up with Disney, we grow up with Hollywood, we grow up with, now people are growing up with like American Netflix, right? People are growing up with already kind of being part of this. And if they just want to travel to the USA, they just want to like visit to all these amazing places that USA have. And it's so close in proximity. It just makes sense to have a great team in there. It also is cost effectively really good. It's more cost effective than, for example, having a big ass team in North America, where you can have the same type of quality people with less cost. All right. So those are one of the best things that I see from hiring remote Latinos.
I would add one more thing.
Yeah.
This is important, right? Because it's not just like the cost per hour, which is always going to be lower, right? It's actually, it multiplies because people that have done this, whether you're a wholesaler, investor, or retail real estate agent, if you've done prospecting or inside lead follow-up, you know how challenging it is to keep them in the seat, how hard it is. Because in the US and Canada, for better or for worse, this is an entry-level position. This is like, okay, great, I'll make my calls. And when do I go on to the real work, the real job? When am I going to get licensed? When am I going to become the boss, a broker, a manager, my own investor, my own thing? That is a normal part of that hustle, of that thing. But in Latin America, Mexico, Colombia, there's big call center industries, massive. In Mexico, it's very U.S. focused. In South America, I think it's U.S. and Europe too, right? I mean, it's all over the place. And the top of the top, the best of the best go into sales. Because it's the best compensation, it's the best benefits, the best everything. The top of the top. So to get to this position is not an entry-level position. You have to have skills. You have to have hustle. You have to have the gift of gab. Those traits. I think culturally it lends itself to folks. I honestly believe that too. But even among people in Latin America, there's people who are just way better at it, right? So it's the best of the best, and you kind of graduate to that level. So that is really important. In the US, it's the first step. In Latin America, you need the best of the best to be there. And I think it shows.
I want to say that in the US, a lot of people undermine the call center type of job. They undermine it, like they keep it like, okay, I just got a call center type of job, it's lowest paid type of job, right? I really don't have any
high schoolers, college kids do it. Exactly. Like, it's like you have to pay their due, make a little extra money, and then move on to something bigger and better, right? And like there's TV shows and the movies make fun of this, of adults, like older people working in call centers. Like, oh man, you're stuck in that call center. So there's a lot of stigma around it. I think it's true.
Yeah, absolutely. And now these people, not only by providing them like amazing opportunity to earn more than average from a base plus commission structures in the tier level, that you can help them out like their financial goals, working for an American company, American-based company, practicing their English day to day, like making sure that they get this type of skill sets that are absolutely necessary to crush it in the online world right now. Is what's going to really have a better opportunity to build out this in, for example, Mexico, just like what you did. But I want to really go down into the nitty gritty because you mentioned a lot of things when you were like saying everything regarding your, breakthrough in the industry when you were like an engineer, and also, being able to be a problem solver and then sell 100 homes. Like you needed to understand that there is a need in the marketplace to solve this problem, which is helping real estate professionals and helping real estate pros, investors, whatever, to get homes at a skill set that not everyone wants to really master. Like they hate cold calling. Yeah, and you're going to be able to provide that solution to that problem that everyone needs to solve at a high level. So what does that take? Like in order for you to build a remote call center, what does it take right now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, because it's changed over the years, right? I think it's never been easier to do because, you can always make this argument. In 5 years, it might be even easier. Who knows, right? But I think it's never been easier to do because the technology's gotten so much better. And here's another thing. The expectation of the client to work with a remote team, a remote professional, we're recording this, in May of 2022. The pandemic is hopefully ending, right? The last, remnants of the pandemic, it got everyone in the planet found out what a Zoom call was. Everyone on the planet found out what voice over IP telephony was. Everybody found out what that was. My dad, who's 75, takes classes on Zoom now, right? I'm like, what? Like, what is that? He does everything on his phone now. He does banking on his phone now. He refused to do that before the pandemic. When it could almost, you could almost die from going to the bank, he pulled out his cell phone and figured it out, right? So we're in a really, really great spot because remote work has become so ubiquitous everywhere, right? That changed things a lot. What you need right now is, number one, you need to have a process that you're going to put the virtual professional into. Because I see a lot of folks make a mistake where they're like, I want to add maybe you're an investor. You've done postcards. You've done Google ads. I want to add cold calling to my business. Woo, Gus, come in here and do cold calling for me. And like, you've never done the calls before. You don't know, because the ISA can help you get 15 qualified leads. It's great. You have to take those leads to the finish line, right? If you've never done that before, the odds that the ISA is going to make you successful are very low, guys. That's number one. You have to have a process. The people that do this at the highest level and have the most success with these remote workers, they know what they want them to do. I know it sounds really obvious, all right? Like, you need to know what your ISA is going to do, your virtual worker. Well, yeah, you should, but not just that. You have to set the proper expectation, and you need to know what they have to learn to do the job effectively. That's number one. You need to have a process to insert the virtual professional. If you're making it up as you go along, again, it's just going to take you longer. It's going to be more frustrating. And a lot of folks give up before they actually give the ISA a shot to get them results because they're figuring everything out at the same time, right? The best way to do it always is have a process in place because you are prospecting based or because you know how hard it is to convert these Google leads, Facebook leads into clients, and you want leverage into that activity, right? So that's number one, figuring out what they're going to do and having the proper expectation of what kind of results they're going to produce. The next thing is you got to find the talent, right? Got to figure out how to source your talent. And there's companies that do this. You can help out. I literally started a company that does this. But at the very basic level, you want to put a job posting out there, interview candidates, find talent. Figure out how to find talent. Because unless you're going to be a one-person shop the whole time, well, maybe you can or get away with it that way. But if you ever want to have leverage, you're going to have to figure out how to interview people, how to learn how to teach them on the job, learn how to manage them, how to evaluate them. And here's the kicker. This is the one that people kind of forget. If they end up being great at that position, you've got to retain them, right? You want to keep them on your team. It's not just all the work it takes to find them, select them, train them, and get them producing at a high level. They kind of want to stay there. They kind of want to be there with you, right? If you're terrible to work with or a really difficult boss or the opposite, you ignore everybody, you don't care, you kind of leave them in the corner, that's not going to be a great solution for them. It's not going to be a great position for them, right? So all of those things you need to bring together because the technology is mature. It's so easy to set up and do. The technology part is so easy. Everything else matters even more. Having a good process to plug them into and figuring out that talent sourcing, talent training, talent managing part. That, and you know what, Esteban? It doesn't matter whether they're in-house or virtual, by the way, right? Building a good team, managing people, it doesn't matter, right? You have to master that skill regardless. But it is even more important because people are correct. It's not the same when they're in the room with you, when they're remote. You got to be more intentional when they're remote. You got to, in Spanish, say, hay que echarle ganitas. You have to actually work a little bit harder at it because it is different when people are remote, right? You can get the same kind of outcome, but you can't do the same activities you do as if they were in-house.
Yeah. So this is so important that you actually mentioned this, because a lot of people, they are just absolutely terrified of hiring a VA or hiring like some sort of like just person remotely and to do their cold call leads. And then they hire it, they go through a bunch of different calls or something, whatever. They don't have a process. And then they blame that person, was just not good, and just, cold calling sucks and it just doesn't work, or, there's something there. But you mentioned not only the processes that are in place, and you have to create the systems, which involves tech. What are your requirements for example, ISA versus a cold caller, or if they're the same, what are they? What are the requirements to get?
I gotcha. Yeah, because I distinguish them too, right? And we use ISA as the overall, and then within ISA, we use the cold caller and the lead. We call the other one lead manager, the one that handles the inbound. The only difference is they handle inbound leads, right? People coming in through Facebook, Google, Realtor, or inbound calls. And the cold caller is just doing prospecting, cold prospecting. They have no idea who that is, right? So that's how we distinguish them. It's a big difference. It's a big difference, actually, because the biggest, I think both of them have to be comfortable on the phone. They have to have persistence. They've got to, have a certain tech ability as well. But the biggest difference with the cold caller and the lead manager is the lead manager, to put it in a really direct way, we can recruit for that position for people that had even tech support or customer support experience. That's a really good indicator that they can be okay at that job or really good at that job. The cold prospector, that's harder because they either have to have experience doing outbound cold calling, or they have to have the personality trait that lends itself to that, which is essentially means that they can be told no 99% of the time, dust themselves off and keep going, right? And that is grit, right? That's the best word I found to describe it. They have to have grit, resilience, persistence. They got to have that backbone. Grit is a great way to describe it. They have to have that grit.
Probably someone that has
bend, but they don't break. They bend, but they don't break. Yeah.
Probably someone that has gone through a lot of bad dates,
Yeah, exactly, right? They're probably pretty good at those dating apps because they're like, they don't take no for, like, let's go, next one. Because there's a guy on those apps, even in Latin America, it's going to be a tough time, right? It's like you're competing for the attention. That's a great example, man. They have to go through a lot of those no's to get to that yes. And if they get discouraged after the first day, this is not the right job for you, right? And I've had people that, and here's another thing, he's a kicker.
Or it's not the right woman for you. It's not the right girl.
Yeah, exactly. It works the exact same way. But here's the crazy part. I have discovered when you're talking about that grit, that tenacity, bend but don't break, you can't interview for that, in my experience. You cannot interview for that, right? Because people can sound great on a role play, on maybe on one call, maybe on two calls, they sound amazing. But get in the room 8 hours a day, right? And then go back and do it the next day. And then the next day after that. And then you realize who can do the outbound prospecting and who can't, right? And for lead managers, it's a little bit different. I think it's a different personality profile. It's a different skill set. So for me, that's the biggest difference. The outbound cold caller needs to do like an 11 on the tenacity and the grit. And with the inbound lead manager, you can get away more of a customer service profile. It's more like being just nice on the phone, being kind on the phone. That gets you a long way with lead management. It's not really going to get you very far with the cold call.
Yeah. And I've heard really great systems in order to put remote employees and make sure that they have a good dialer to always rely on. But would you say for remotely, one of your requirements would be, I guess, do you give them their own tech, or do they have to have a good tech and maybe have a good internet? How are those tech requirements right now in software in order for the entire role, entire job to
we just ask that they have a computer, because we literally send them the headset, because headset is important. Let me tell you that. It's important enough to where we go, once they're hired, once they're past their training, they graduate, and we give them one of these, like a high quality headset, because the noise canceling part, you can get, I mean, let's Latin America, guys. Some of these people work in like rural Latin America, roosters and like animals are out there, and like the nosy neighbors yelling. And you've got, dude, this is a thing in most Latin America. The street vendors are driving through, blasting out whatever advertising they're doing. It's crazy, right? So
like,
they might live in a hole, like
avocado, everything I got for you.
But buying, so the ones that I hate, the ones that guys that buy used metal. Like the metal recycling is huge in Latin America. So people drive around and they get like old appliances, pieces of scrap metal. Those guys are on blast. And I don't know, they share the same recording all over Mexico, but I hear the same one like everywhere. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So a high quality headset, it's important enough to where we send it to them, right?
Awesome.
And then the next thing is just a good internet connection, which can be difficult, right? In some spots, because most of Mexico doesn't have fiber. Most of Mexico doesn't have fiber. The major cities do, and it's more and more every day, right? It's more and more, but most of Mexico's on cable modem. And I don't know how much you want to get into the technical details, but cable modem, you can buy 500 megs, right? Connection. And in reality, you're only getting 50 megs, 20 megs, right? Because it depends on the saturation you have in the market, right? So let's leave it at that. So you got to be really careful for that. That's a requirement. And we'll have people that pass the interview for the tech, and then during training we realize it's a really low quality connection. We can't have them there, right? So for me, again, it sucks to say that, because the ISA has zero control over what kind of internet connections available in their city. And a lot of places in Mexico, you have one provider, and that's it, right? It's like a utility almost. And there's nothing you can do about it. That's the one thing that will disqualify someone off the bat. You don't have a good internet connection and you can't upgrade it, then you can't do this job.
Yeah. I mean, compared to the Philippines, us Latinos, we don't have chickens in the background randomly, but we do have the bus, the hustler in the street trying to sell 100%. Stuff and make their day and everything. Whether that's a sandwich, whether it's an empanada, whether that's like anything out there. Right?
Again, I respect the hustle. Like, keep it down, bro. Like, take it.
Can we do a test? Can you connect the headset that you have right now just to see like what would be the type of noise cancellation? Does your headset have that right now?
You know what? I don't want to mess it up with this thing can go kind of haywire. But there's no background noise though. I have to have something like on blast so you can actually see the difference, right? Because you have to have like turn on some music or something so you can see. But I mean, trust me when I tell you this. You can have someone screaming outside of your window. I'd be looking at someone and I'll drop this and they're gone.
Yeah.
Right? Or dogs. Yeah, that's another one. People we love dogs in Latin America. We love dogs. Dogs bark, guys. It can be like, whoa, whoa, like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's like that. It sounds great. Don't take my word for it. Try it. And you're going to go like, because they'll usually tell you, guys, I'm sorry. My dog's been barking all day because there's something going on. Like, what dog? I don't know what the hell you're talking about. They can hear it. You can't. And that's what you want.
Which is a good headset? Which headset do you recommend?
This one that I got, let me tell you, I don't want to mess this up, because I used to go with Logitech ones, which are, they're all right. This one is Poly Blackwire, P-O-L-Y, Poly Blackwire. And we've tried Logitech, Plantronics. Plantronics are really, really good. They're also really, really expensive. I gotta find a middle ground, right? Really good quality, reasonable price, because we go through a lot of these. I buy a lot. My headset budget is like, thousands of dollars, right? Because that's what we go through most. But it impacts the quality of the service a lot.
100%.
A lot. USB, because we use a lot of these digital dialers, right? USB high quality noise canceling headset is worth its weight in gold, right? Unbelievable.
100%. Especially you cannot control the background of what's happening because they're not in a specific office. But what you can control is the gadgets and the little assets that you buy, these little tools such as that one. And there's also like other like software or extensions that you can also get. I forgot the name of the one that I got recommended, but there's also ones that I know that also work, but the headset is really important for that. So always have that for your remote employee that is doing calls like all the time. Like make sure it's on point. I have done like Zen Call and Five9 as dialers to really dial real well for example for our follow-up specialists or lead managers. What would you recommend for someone that is like starting out versus someone that is like maybe a little bit more into it?
Yeah. Well, I would say, so I guess it depends what you're doing, right? Because when you talk about inbound follow-up, inbound specialist, they're probably working within a CRM. So maybe the dialer that's integrated with that CRM is the easiest thing to start out with. Maybe that's where you start. If you don't have an integrated dialer, or it's one of those dialers that you have to dial into, you know what I mean? You have to, they assume you have a cell phone, like a US cell phone, and you're dialing in the dialer. A lot of systems have that. Well, then we get a digital line through a provider like a RingCentral. And RingCentral is not the cheapest. Like, they're not like Google Voice, but trust me when I tell you, they're much more reliable than a lot of the free dialers out there. They're very stable. You're never going to have any downtime. Call quality is excellent, and you can actually record. Again, that's not the cheapest one out there, RingCentral. But I've got 100 people on it, right? So I don't even want to tell you what my RingCentral monthly bill is, but it is worth it. This is what we use. This is like your lifeline, right? Your digital voice line. So really, really important to have something like that. If you're talking about outbound, like when you need volume of calls, that's where it gets interesting, right? The dialer matters even more because having the wrong dialer or using the right dialer the wrong way, you're not going to get the result you want. And if you had great success, Five9 is a great one. It's probably the most expensive one out there, but it's really, really good for the power outbound dialing. VanillaSoft, another great dialer. Again, they're just pricier. They're going to be if RingCentral can be less than $100 a month, these like more professional dialers, like industrial level dialers, are going to be $100 to $200 a month per person, right? So it gets pricier. But again, it just depends what you're doing. Because if you're doing something like outbound prospecting, like circle prospecting, where you have to dial 1,000 numbers a day to talk to 50 people, it's a must. There's no way to do it other than with these kind of dialers. So batch dialer is another one. We're actually using it very recently. I've heard really good things about batch dialer. We've been trying it out so far. So good, really good. Leads Drain, very inexpensive one. It's a trade-off between quality and price. Leads Drain is another one of entry level kind of a dialer as well. Those are the ones that I have the most experience with. And all of those have trade-offs. Price versus quality versus the features that you want, right? Yeah. Phone burner is another one that I've used a lot. Phone burner and batch dialer probably have the best solution for something that's really common called local presence. I don't know if maybe people don't care about that, people don't know about that. But if you're calling in more than one area code, which we do because we call all over the country, that matters a lot, right? Because you want to be calling with a local number that you can switch out very easily, right? And the really more powerful dialers, they have that. They'll always dial with a local number. And if that number gets burned, I don't know if you want to talk about that number becomes, unusable anymore, then you switch it out in 5 seconds and you're back to the races.
I love that. I definitely, there's a lot of, actually Pace Morby, who is my coach, pushes a lot of batch dialer actually, because it's also, very, very built, not only for different industries, but like they have put a lot of effort into like real estate itself, which is great, right? Batch dialer has other integrations with like skip tracing and, other, real estate focused stuff. So that's pretty good, man, that's awesome. And I think that you mentioned the second thing is like, obviously having a good attraction system recruiting, because that's hard. That's a hard skill. Like it is a hard skill to like recruit top talent for people to know that it's worth working with you, the top talent, but also finding them, like knowing where they are. It's something that we started doing like fairly well, but it took us so much money and dedication and like hiring the wrong people to do it. Well, what would you do right now? Like, what are you doing right now that works? That holy crap! I've gone through hundreds of amazing Mexicans already that are crushing it.
Yeah. So man, 7 years ago, I literally started with newspaper and radio, just so you know, in the area that I'm in. So we started with that, and that worked until I literally hired everyone. I'm in a smaller town now. I'm not on the border area. I'm more in the interior of the country, and I literally ran out of candidates. Like I could no longer. I saturated. Like I don't know how far the radio goes here, but 100-mile radius and the newspaper. There were no more candidates, right? So I had to go on to what do we do now, right? And the thing that's been really, and I tried it all. The job posting sites, Indeed.com is huge in Latin America. But the thing that has been the biggest source of candidates for us has been Facebook. And I use Facebook and Instagram as the same thing, by the way. I treat them the same. It's the same thing. And both paid ads and organic off of those two systems is the best way to do it. That's been working the best for us so far. And, with ads, again, every year the cost increases, right? With everything on ads, for sure.
Yeah.
But even now, right, we're in 2022, it's still very cost effective to run ads and target English speakers in a lot of these countries. And that, on top of that, creating content for them, right? Because, the people love to pass around, interesting job opportunities. And you want to stand out from all these other call centers, all these other companies out there. There's a lot of fraud, man.
Like Teleperformance.
This is crazy. Teleperformance. I have a lot of former Teleperformance people in my company.
Yeah.
Because that is for people that don't know, that's like the Walmart of the call center industry in Latin America, probably the world, probably one of the biggest call centers in the world. And they have their offices in Mexico are 1,000 people, 3,000 people. It's the Walmart of call centers. And there's great things about Walmart, I'm sure, but one of the not so great things is how they treat their people, right? It's assembly line. They're burning through people.
They also have the same thing in Colombia. My brother worked for Teleperformance. The culture was not the best. They treated it like little robots and little, things, which I don't know who runs the leadership team and the CEO of Teleperformance, but having such a power to get so many people, they're not doing a great job in the third thing that you said, which is retaining them, which is keeping them.
It's challenging. But you know what? They have a bit, and I've thought about this a lot, by the way. They've got a business model where people are replaceable because they build it that way. Because they just burn through people. There's no other way to describe it. They burn through people, go. They have actually, my main operations manager right now used to be an operations manager at Teleperformance. They have it down to almost a science how long each person's going to last. And they have a business model where they don't need more than that. And that's why they're $1 billion company, right? They figured it out. And again, respect for that. But as a quality place to work and to develop people, that's tough, man. It's difficult to use a model like that and create a really good work environment for people. And we have an advantage. Again, I have 100 people. I still consider myself a really small company that I get to meet everyone that joins the company. Everyone gets one-on-one time with the CEO, the founder of the company.
Freaking love
Teleperformance. If the Teleperformance CEO wanted to do that, they wouldn't finish in 10 years, right? Because to talk to everyone, they can't do that anymore. I can't. So I do things that don't scale in that sense, that I can influence the culture of the company a lot. And if I ever build this company to a 10,000 person company, that's going to change, obviously, right? But I'll take it, man. I'll take my unfair advantage I have versus a massive corporation is that I can own that experience.
I love that, man. I think that you currently are doing such a great thing, and putting the pride there, the Latino pride, that we are, not only very honest and they're honest workers, very humble individuals. I want to say most of them. Of course, some of them they're they have.
There's always a guy. There's always a guy somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I definitely think that there's and then the skill set required for this job, which is that hustle mentality.
Yeah,
that's like a thing in Latin America, man. Everyone has a side gig. They want to do something else. They want to find a way to make things happen. That hustler mentality is so ingrained in the culture here. Like, you want to start a business in Latin America, you open up your window and you sell whatever you're making in the kitchen.
They
Like,
say that in Colombia.
That's like, it's huge here, right?
They say that in Colombia, like a good amount of percentage. I think that my cousin did the research. Over 35% of the population are independent. They're not necessarily businesses, but they're independent. It means that they're
self-employed.
They're hustling out there, right?
They eat what they kill. In figurative sense, right?
And that's the type of individual that you potentially want to have in a sales organization. And at the end of the day, what we are, wholesalers, real estate investors, it's a sales organization, sales and marketing organization that just so happens to provide real estate consulting services for homeowners that need help. And you want to have that type of people in your company because those are the people that will have the grind for sales, the hunger for making more phone calls, better appointments, higher quality, better sales, right? And obviously, if you absolutely structure it very well, you will retain them for a long period of time. You will help them with their career. How do you retain people right now, man? Like, what's this little sauce? What is this like enchilada / burrito / like the little things that you have created? The sauce.
The biggest thing is, well, here's the first thing. It's important. You don't want to retain everybody. Some people are going to leave. That you have good churn, like good people. That's just not because you. If you're a sales organization, you can't just keep everyone around. Because you have to be a performance-based organization.
Yes.
So just because you're a performance-based team, you're going to be letting people go regularly. That's just the name of the game. They do not earn the right to stay with the team. That's just number one. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the good people, right? How do you retain the good people? Well, number one, you've got to be competitive on salary, bonus, company. You have to be competitive with that, right? You cannot pull a miracle where they're going to make 5 times more like working somewhere else. It's really challenging to do, right? So you have to be in the right ballpark. Number one, on compensation, whatever that happens to be. Whether you're in the US or Mexico, it doesn't matter, right? You have to be in the right ballpark, right? Number one. Number two, we really, really make an effort here in our company. Like whenever we want to promote people to staff, to supervisor, to IT, to customer service, account manager. I have a big team now. 99% of the people we bring into those roles are promoted from within, right? Promoted from within. What does that mean? There is a culture of doing good at your job because that opens the door to become a salesperson, an account manager, like move up. And becoming staff in a company is a big deal because you have more flexibility with your hours, you make more money, and in some cases a lot more money because you're in a customer-facing role possibly. So all those opportunities are reserved for our team. So that in and of itself, that fact creates a culture of, if the staff people are really, really good, I want to be that. How do I be that? Doing a really good job. And I tell this on day one when people join the company. This staff position is open to you if and only if you do a good job where you're at right now. That is a big, big, big thing. But there's 2 edges to that sword, Esteban, right? Because when you promote a good person, they're going to leave that campaign. And that is the bane of my existence, right? Because I'm going to have an unhappy customer. They're going to be, and sometimes people leave the company. Like clients of mine have left. Really good clients of mine have left because their ISA wants a better opportunity. And for me, I will always pick my teammate even versus a customer. And I don't just say that; I literally do that. Not all the time, but every few months that decision comes up, and a really good client like, no, best leave me with this ISA. Tell them no, they can't get promoted. No, they have to say no. I never go with the client against my employee. Not one time. And people notice that you're going to go to bat for them. What's best for them, for the team. So you talk about little things. That's a little thing that doesn't happen every day. It doesn't happen every day. But when it happens, trust me that the whole company finds out about it. Everyone. That when push comes to shove, we're going to choose the teammate over the customer. And that's just a fact. I mean, anyone who asked me, doesn't like that. That's the way I run my company. So among my staff, I'm going to be really honest with you. My staff is the brain trust of my company. I maybe have 5% churn year over year. 5% churn, which means I lose one person, 2 people a year from staff.
That
An
is so
ISA role is harder because that's a higher churn role. The most important people of the company churn at 5%, maybe 10% in a bad year, right? That's where we're at. So you're not going to accomplish that without doing things like that. So that's been key. I don't manage 100 people. I manage 5 people, right? I think soon to be 4, like 4 people, right? That's my team. The team runs the business.
Gustavo, I want to have a second episode where we can potentially talk about like just the importance of people and how taking people will yield way better results and compound to a way greater return. Because I think that's a very big topic. And I know your time here, but the last thing I want to ask you is—
run, but yeah, what's up? One more question.
For your people that are doing cold calling and people that are doing ISA, what's the best way to compensate them so that they are fairly always motivated?
Man. Dang, that's a really good question. And I can tell you do this because that's where that's where it gets hard, right? So here's the thing, right? The challenge with real estate sales is that the deals can take really long to close. Okay, that is the challenge with this kind of business. On the other side, you've got the cold caller, the ISA, the outbound prospector. The way to motivate them is with commissions. I mean, base salary is okay, but the reason they're in sales is because they want to get a piece of the action. Otherwise, they'd be doing tech support, customer support. Come on, that's what they'd be doing, right? So you have to manage that dichotomy of I need to feed my sharks and to feed the shark, but the food is going to come 3 months from now. Okay, well, now what the hell do you do, right? Like I get this really commonly from clients and my coaching. I have a small coaching group. There's little things like that. That is one of the biggest challenges people have. Like, Gus, how do I do this? I can tell you from experience, the best solution that I found is because sometimes people want to go only commission. The only bonus you get is on closing. So close the deal. Like, I mean, maybe you're going to have success with that if you have a steady stream of business. Maybe you will, right? But for most people, that's not a great solution because it takes time for these deals to close. But you got to feed the shark or the shark's going to leave. I'll just be really honest with you, right? So what I tell folks is to analyze your business, analyze the process, and find a middle ground. What is a leading indicator, right? A leading indicator that you're going to get deals down the line and bonus off that. For example, if you're cold calling motivated sellers, right? Homeowners of a certain age with a certain equity and your target market. Again, for the investors in the room, you know what I'm talking about. Those kind of lists, right? You're calling them, and sometimes there might be even the hot leads are going to be 6 months out. 3 to 6 months out, the hot leads, right? So what you can do is bonus that ISA on attended appointments, or at least qualified leads, qualified opportunities, okay? And depending on your system, that can be 5 qualified opportunities a week. It can be 3, it can be 2, or I had one of my clients, literally, it was 15 a week. 15 was average for that, okay? So that's why I don't have a number for you. I don't have a magic number without looking at like a little bit more detail, but find what that standard is, right? Oh, here's the other thing you have to do before that. It takes a month, at least 30 days of them doing the job to find out what that number is. And you still might get it wrong, Esteban. That's another thing, right? You have to set the expectation. We're gonna have to find what that number is. You have to get buy-in from them. Hey, man, you never want to overdo it and then bring the bonus down because you're still gonna lose the person.
Yeah.
FYI, okay? You can't really do that. You can always bump it up. You can do that every day. Like bump it up a little bit, bump it up a little bit. Yeah, increase the bonus. Bringing it down is not a good thing. So you have to be conservative with this. Start small and build up from there. So 30 days into the campaign, you go, okay, ISA, now I have an idea. You probably can get me about 2 qualified opportunities per week. Okay, great. If you do 3, you get a bonus. That's the easiest, the simplest. Again, I'm summarizing a lot, but that's what I would say. Find the baseline, the average, right? Because otherwise they didn't do their job. I hate bonusing per appointment or per qualified lead. What if you only did 1 a month? Congratulations, here's your bonus. You didn't do your job, Esteban. You didn't do your job, bro. Like, I need 15 in the month. So if you don't do 16, 17, 18, you're not going to get a bonus, right? 15 is you get a salary, Esteban, for doing that. Congrats, right? Like you've got to create a culture of high performance, right? So the only way I've been able to do that with 100 people now is figure out what baseline performance is, and the top people get a bigger piece of the pie if they can perform above that consistently.
Love it.
Cool.
Gustavo, this was great. How can people actually get to talk to you, reach out, or anything at all? Social media, anything? How can people? You can find me on Facebook. That's the main platform that I'm on. Gustavo Munoz Castro. My full name's on there, or even easier, PowerISA.com. That's a great way to reach out to me or my team. Anytime you guys need anything, I'm a resource. And I'm like Esteban. I love, talking to people, sharing this stuff. At the end, like Gary Vee says, you want to have the karma account totally in the green, right? Your whole life. And then it'll probably pay out later. I believe in that philosophy too. So anyone has a question, comment, they didn't get the whole bonus thing, I'm willing to DM people. I don't get back to everyone right away, but I do respond to everyone that messages me. Love it. Thank you so much for so much value and this REI marketing conversion series. I want to have you in a second episode. I think that type of conversation is like very big, very good for people to understand and everything.
The team building part is the easiest one to screw up. Let me just tell you that way. It's the hardest one to really figure out. And it just takes time and a lot of practice. But yeah, man, anytime you want, I'll jump in. We can spend a whole hour just talking about team, like how to build a team, organization, because I've done it so many times and I've screwed it up so many times too. Also understand that if you're not willing to go through the pain and the failure of messing it up, you're never going to get to something good.
Yeah, love it. All right, Gustavo, have a good one. And thank you everyone for watching. Just share this with every single person in your circle, and Spotify, Audible, Amazon Podcast, Google Podcast, everything out there. We're everywhere. And we will be extracting some of these nuggets and putting it in social media, and also putting a different series of the same episode so that you can like digest it in very little pieces, because there is so much heat. There's so much heat. And there's a lot of power in everything that was taught. So thank you guys for listening today with Gustavo Munoz, and here in Online Hustlers with Esteban Andrade. Have a great day.